the shine. It's you and I against the world. Take my hand and don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look back. Yeah, yeah. Don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look
Hey guys, for you guys that don't see the title I see in the questions right now, this video is to go over contest selection and how to pick contests and how to construct your lineups based on the contest selection. So if you aren't interested, this is more of a tutorial video. I decided to go live because I wanted to get live questions and I wanted to answer some questions. I had a little bit of free time this morning. So this is not your typical live stream. Okay, but if you guys do have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. So I'm going to be going over my process for constructing different lineups, for picking contests, for GPP selection, and all that good stuff, because I've been getting a lot of questions about it. So this video will be uploaded to YouTube too and put into the tutorial section. So feel free to stop by that video at the end of the live stream if you guys want to get a quick recap of everything. But this is for everybody who's struggling with contest selection and basically constructing a lineup in general. All right. So I'm going to kind of ignore the chat right now. I'm going to go over what I do every single morning, and then I'll answer questions a little bit later on. All right? Hope you guys are having a great morning too. So let's start with double ups, because double ups, there's a lot of misconception with double ups. Here's the thing with double ups, and I get asked this all the time. Are double ups easier to win? The question, or the answer to that, is yes. The answer to that simple question is yes, double ups are easier to win. But if you're playing double ups in the long run, with these popular sports such as basketball, baseball, football, it's very, very hard to gain an edge. With GPPs, you can get the edge, you can take control of the ownership in the field, and you get rewarded for the better that you do. With double ups, you do not. Okay? But I'm not a fan with the big sports. I'm more of a fan in these smaller sports. Okay, because there's more of an edge. Obviously, I've been diving into things like esports and tennis and MMA. Those are a lot easier to win for double ups. But if you still are a fan of double ups, that's okay. Like you can still play them in NBA. I just personally, and a lot of these sharks are finding little success in double ups. If you're a double up player, let's go ahead and cover the basis for that first. Okay. When picking double up contests, it's the exact opposite of GPPs. You want to look for the highest amount of entries and make sure they're single entry, because you want to be going up against the most amount of people in double ups. Okay, you want there to be a lot of different variety of entries, and you want to get on these double up contests very early in the day. You also want to get the high or the lowest margin. So for you guys who haven't watched my other videos, what margin means, and this is a RotoGrinders plugin, margin is simply the amount that DraftKings takes from the contest before they distribute their prize pools. Okay, so if you look at the margins here on the left side of the contest, and this isn't available on the app, but you can go in and you can calculate this by looking at the total prizes that are distributed here, 8,000, right, and dividing it by the total amount of players. But again, it's just easier just to hop onto your computer, download this plugin, and kind of see that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at these double ups. The one that catches my eye here is the NBA single entry $5 double up. It has 2,758 people. That is going to be a great double up to play. Of course, I'm not saying any specific amount or anything. I'm saying the most amount of people in a double up contest. Those are the best ones to enter. Okay, depending on how much you play. If you only play $1, you want to look for a $1 entry where it has a lot of double up exposure, a lot of different people, and you gotta think logically too. It's like these people playing in these double up contests, some of them might not even change their lineup as the day goes forward. A lot of these casual players don't do that, but we don't do that. We obviously tinker with our lineups and we get the edge right before the stream starts. All right, so now let's construct a lineup. Okay. Specific for double ups, and this is my process. This is raw and uncut. I have not looked at a single person's ownership yet. I haven't really looked at much. Okay, so let's flip over here to RotoGrinders, and you guys can have access to all this on the stream, to percentage ownership, and of course my Patreon tool. I post a percentage ownership for the top guys, so you can have a look at that. But for double ups, you want to start your lineup building with the highest owned guys as your core. Okay? The highest owned guys. Because guess what? The highest owned guys are probably good plays. Now, as the percentage ownership starts to go down the list, you can start to throw your opinions and your analytics into it and say, hey, this might be bad chalk. This might be good chalk. I might want to make it a little bit of a pivot off of this guy. I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page just to make sure these percentage ownerships are updated. All right, so let's take a look at this list. I built 150 lineups earlier, and I already had my Patreon news out in my analytics for my Patreon tool, so I kind of have an idea of what players are good chalk. But let's go ahead and start building a lineup with the highest percentage owned guys, okay? And this is strictly double ups. I'm not talking about GPPs right now. All right, so Jacob Hurdle here at the top of the list, 69%. Let's go ahead and start with him. He is center eligible, so let's go ahead and put him in there. DeMar DeRozan. Luka at 28%. And again, this is strictly for double ups. Embiid, Saric. I know. So if I take a look here, let's just build 150 lineups based on our projections that I uploaded earlier. Saric and Booker, I'm gonna win in there, and they're higher owned. So let's go ahead and throw them in there. And how much am I looking for remaining salary? So 6,000. All right. So let's start to look in the mid range. Well, let's just look in general. It looks like... Let's see what we're looking at with Joel Embiid, plugging him in. So he's going to go in the util spot. Let's see if that's even possible. So we got a power forward position here. We got 3,900 left on the table. Let's start to look at these cheaper options. Josh Richardson might be in there. Let's go ahead and put Josh Richardson. Oh, and he only plays guard position, so that's not going to work. Again, guys, for the guys joining in the chat, this is for lineup construction. This is how I build my lineups and based on contest selection and all that good stuff. So this is a tutorial video. This is not a regular live stream. We have a lot of questions asked. All right. Let's go with Lyles. Lyles plays. And we got one slot left here for the forward position, 4,100. Again, this might be where you have to tinker around with your lineups a little bit, but I know that Eric Gordon is another great play, so I'll go ahead and put him in. All right. So if you guys saw what I did there, I tried to grab as much exposure to percentage ownership. That has to be your priority in double ups. Doncic, DeRozan, Saric, Lyles, Jacob Hurdle, Booker, Eric Gordon, Joel Embiid. That's going to be my... If the slate started in 5 minutes, that would be my double up lineup. All right, and that's pretty straightforward. All right, does that make sense, guys? Hopefully that makes sense. And again, double ups are very, very easy. I'm not going to enter a double up contest right now just because I have to look at all the contests as the day goes on. All right. So now let's talk about GPPs. Let's talk about the hard stuff here. GPPs are a little bit more advanced. And I get this question, why are you starting this guy over this guy? Why are you, or what kind of contests are you entering? Let me just say this. I am a huge fan of GPPs because I broke this down in other videos, okay? Just pay attention real quick. In double ups, a majority of the time, statistically, you have to cash in the top 43.33% of the field because the rake takes some percentage. Here, they take 12.98% in order to double up your money. Okay? But if you go here, if you look at tournaments and you go to entries and you look at these 3-player pools, okay? Let's just take a look. We'll just go to a cheap one. We'll go to a $2, $1 one, okay? You make 2.7 times your money and you cash in the top 33%, okay? So there's a 10% difference from double ups to playing a 3-man contest, from 43.33% to 33.33%. But in the triple ups and the 3-man, you make 270% back, whereas in double ups you make 200% back. Okay, so because of that, GPPs are just more viable in general, and the lower the amounts of the entry fee, the lower you make back. So obviously, like if you're an advanced player, you want to be targeting these higher up 3-man contests. So what I recommend is, like, over double ups, you might want to take the chance, especially if you have the edge. You might want to take the chance, and there are a bunch of these 3-man contests down low. These $1, these $2 ones without the sharks. Anything below $5 has sharks, or below $5 does not have sharks. All right, so for me, I'm going to be entering a bunch of these $2 contests because it makes sense statistically. If you're beating 33% of the field, you're getting rewarded obviously more for it. And with double ups, you're only getting your money back, right? And then doubling it up. So statistically, it makes more sense to start out with GPPs, even if it's only the 3 person GPPs. All right. So, and yes, you're gonna build your lineups the same way with those 3-man contests. Okay. So let's talk about regular GPPs. Let's go to your featured page and let's look at the big contests here, because everybody's interested in the big GPP contests here. Let's look at the big entries. All right, so you'll know this, and I just talked about margin with the double ups. This top one, this 20 entry max, $1 out of 59,400 people. You want to target that one because obviously the payout's going to be huge, right? If you look at the margin, you'll notice at the margin they're taking a lot more from the contest in general. Okay, double ups was sitting around 9%, whereas the margin here is 15.9%. Those are things you want to look at before you enter a contest. Okay, but let's take a look here at these kind of smaller ones here. It's kind of funny because, here, let me get the tournaments. Trying to get to a decent GPP to look at. All right, I mean, we can just look at some of these smaller ones. These are 20-player ones. The margin's at 10%, 10%, 10%. Winner take all is 13%. Again, it's all lower than the 15%, 14, 10, 10, 10. So what they're doing, and this is more of a marketing thing. This is obviously a business that DraftKings is running. Let me scroll back to the top. They're punishing your inability to scroll down the list and view these other contests, and they're taking more out, and they're making it look more appealing by saying, oh, hey, the top prize gets $100,000. But in reality, these are not the contests to look at. You want to target your smaller GPPs because not only is DraftKings taking a smaller amount but you obviously have a better chance to win. When the percentages, it could be 5% better. That's a huge amount when you're talking about GPPs because 5% could make or break your entire night. So again, GPPs with a smaller prize pool are the ones to target. Okay? So let's talk about just GPPs in general, how to construct this. All right, this is $100. I'm not saying $100 entry fee for a GPP is optimal. Let's just pretend this is a $1 one. Okay, you can look through the contest, but this is only 444 people. The margin is 9.91%. This is a fantastic GPP to target. Okay, so let's just pretend I'm entering this. Okay, it's single entry, and there's 444 people. Okay, this is a smaller GPP. So the lineup construction has to look a little different than your double ups. Has to be a little bit more aggressive, and we're going to talk about that. How do you guys build GPPs? All right, for single entry, let's just talk about single entry. I've gone over MME in my other tutorial videos, but let's talk about single entry because I know a lot of you are single entry players. All right. So again, you want to be a little bit more aggressive, but at the same time, you don't want to be too aggressive because, again, it's a smaller pool. So you want to take more of these obvious plays, but you want to differentiate yourself from the field. Okay? So let's build a lineup. I'm going to go and refresh my ownership just to make sure it's still the same. So you might only want to take 1 or 2 people that will differentiate yourself amongst the field. But again, you want to still take high-owned people. And this is for GPP. Oops. Sorry about that. All right, so let's start building a lineup. Let's start with high-owned guys. Again, really high-owned chalk. So we're going to put Jacob Hurdle in there. You're going to play DeRozan. You're going to play Doncic. You want to take the very high-owned guys. I'm not necessarily saying you have to pick from the very top of the list, but you have to pick some top-of-the-list players that you feel very strongly about. I feel very strongly about Saric. Throw Saric in there. Again, it's looking very similar to my double-up right now, but until the very end, when we start to go a little bit deeper. Let's throw Booker, because I still like Booker as a high-owned guy. All right, let's throw one more guy in there. That's high-owned. Let's go. How much are we looking at? Let's go Dinwiddie. All right. So like I said, 1 to 2 players that are going to be different. So let's go back here. Let's look at my lineup. My 150 lineups that I built. Okay? I'm looking for low-owned guys. And a low-owned guy that I'm really heavy on, that I'm really high on, it looks to be like that's going to be somebody like Rudy Gay. So let's go ahead and throw Rudy Gay in there. That's perfect because he plays forward position. And again, he's only 11% owned. Now let's scroll down. Let's see if I like anybody in this mid-tier range. Morant, Valanciunas. I do like Valanciunas. Ricky Rubio, I also like. Oh, he doesn't play the forward position. So again, you might want to tinker a little bit with these guys. I'm starting to get out of the price range just a little bit. All right, let's get rid of Gay. And let's throw in... Again, I'm looking for forward positions. It kind of limits me. All right, well, let's look for a high-owned forward so it gives me more flexibility here. We can throw Trey Lyles in there. Let's see what Lyles does. All right, so that gives me 7,300 to mess with. Again, this is for single entry GPP, the one that I showed you guys I was entering. Let's see if we can put James Harden in there. 3,300 in the forward position. I think I can get Rudy Gay in there. Perfect. Look at that. All right. So, for you guys that are just joining, this is what I was doing. I built a double-up lineup strictly based on percentage ownership. Okay? The highest owned guys, I built a lineup. It was everybody near the top. It was Jacob Hurdle, DeRozan, Saric, Booker. It was Doncic, all those high-owned guys. Richardson was in there. Okay, it was very safe, and it had a lot of the high-owned guys with a lot of upside. But here, with this lower-owned lineup, I have some of these high-owned guys. Again, this is a smaller single-entry GPP. This is 444 people, so you don't want to differentiate yourself too much, but just enough that you can possibly take it down. So this is what my lineup looks like. Doncic, very high-owned. DeRozan, very high-owned. Saric, very high-owned. Trey Lyles, not that high-owned. Pretty low. Hurdle, the highest owned. Booker, very high-owned. All right, and then Rudy Gay sitting at 11%. James Harden sitting at around 12%. Okay? Do you guys see what my mindset is? How I kind of differentiate myself based on the contest selection. Okay, we won't get into MMA in this video. I just wanted to get on here and kind of show you guys the way I construct my builds. Because the mindset is this. If Doncic does very bad tonight, let's say he drops a dud, even if he gets injured or something, he's still going to carry about 50% ownership. He's not going to hurt you that bad. Okay, same thing can be said with Jacob Hurdle, DeRozan, but guess what? They're chalky because they're good plays. and you can't get away from those guys. Like, you can't just turn your backs on people like that unless you're going for a very, very high entry GPP, just like the ones that we looked at earlier, 59,000 people, and then that's when you can get a little bit crazier. But for these single entry GPPs, this is a strategy that I like to implement, and this is a very good lineup going into a single entry GPP just because of the low ownership mixed with the high ownership, but enough to kind of differentiate yourself amongst the field. Does that make sense, guys? If you have any questions, feel free to enter them into the chat. Okay? I guess I can go over MME next because that's another thing on my list. What's some other questions that you guys have about lineup construction? No, this is a live stream, but also supposed to be a video as well. So I wanted to answer some questions on here. Oh, that's another thing. Let's go over this. This is kind of an advanced strategy here. Let's get off this lineup. Don't steal that lineup. I'm just kidding. You guys can steal that if you want. But again, things will change as the day goes forward here. Let's see here. One thing I want to talk about, and a question I just saw. So you guys will notice that a lot of these GPPs, especially for the small buy-ins, are not. They're not small. They're very big. Okay. What I do to get into these smaller contests is I will literally wait till the very last second before I'm entering my contest. I'm talking, if the slate starts at 7, I will wait till 6:58 to start looking for contests, because then you'll get small, very small contests, because DraftKings is trying to fill as many different contests as they can and make enough money, obviously, because they're taking a lot of money out of the player pool to start with. They don't really care as long as they keep putting out contests. So you'll notice I entered in a 17 max, like 300 person GPP last night. That's perfect. I mean, you can enter 17 lineups, and obviously, if one of your lineups does very well, there's a lot more potential in making back money as opposed to entering a 59,400 person contest. Because one of my lineups, guys, did really well last night. I got 320 in one of my lineups, and in a GPP with 62,000 people, I threw it in like a quarter 62,000 person. It literally made, I think, like 5 times the return, and it was unbelievable. It's just crazy. But in a normal GPP with 200 people, 300 people, 400 people, that could be a takedown easy. All right. So again, my strategy is wait till the very last second. You will see the contests open up. Okay. Those GPPs are ideal. Okay. And I'm not saying don't select these contests here at the top, but again, you have to be very advanced and you have to have a lot of wiggle room to play with when entering these contests. All right. How do you determine who has the best upside? Great question. So first off, you have to watch our videos, our live streams, and we'll tell you who's going to be the best upside. But you guys that have to create your own projections. Like if you're more advanced and you want to do this by yourself, you have to be a little bit more advanced on your projections. As you guys know, we take usage, matchups into consideration, and we input our own projections. So that really tells us who has the most upside. We go off of who does well without certain players in the lineup, and of course over-unders. You guys hear us talk about it all the time. But really what determines the player's upside, like Jacob Hurdle, yeah, statistically he has a lot of upside, but at 69%, he really doesn't in GPPs. Okay, he's kind of just one of those players you kind of have to plug and play in because he's going to do so well. But again, you have to look at the percentage ownership to determine upside. James Harden on the other side, we like him according to our models, but he's going to be in 12% of GPPs, which means he's going to have phenomenal upside. If he does very well, you're going to see, like if you look at your contests and your GPPs and you see James Harden getting 40 points in the first half and then coming back with another 40-point performance in the second half, you're going to see as the night progresses, you're going to shoot up because he's going to be only 12% owned. Whereas Jacob Hurdle could drop 30 points, DK points tonight, and it's going to be minimally affected just because of the percentage ownership. A lot of people will have that same player, so you're not going to jump. Rudy Gay, another great player according to our models as of right now that has phenomenal upside. Devin Booker, not that bad of upside. 18% still pretty low. Patty Mills, phenomenal upside. Let's go down here. Let's try to look for these very low. Josh Jackson, 2% owned. If he does very well, tremendous upside for GPPs. All right, it's not so much statistics. I mean, it is. It's obviously statistics, but it's percentage ownership more. Like you wanna gain leverage against the field by seeing where your models kind of disagree with what the field thinks. Like and you can do this based on opinion. However, I don't recommend it. Like if you think Josh Jackson's going to have a phenomenal night tonight, but only 2% of the public thinks he's going to have a phenomenal night, well, guess what? Go ahead and play a lot of Josh Jackson. All right. How many guys do you consider a core? That's another good question. Very good question. Like tonight, it's very straightforward. So my core is going to probably be about 5 guys. Like you'll see in my single entry, my double up that I constructed earlier, my core is probably going to be somebody like, it's going to start with Jacob Hurdle, it's going to start with Doncic, it's going to start with Saric and DeRozan. So I think that's 5 guys, right? I think I just named 5. Those guys are going to be very high owned, and they do very well on their models here. So again, like I said, Jacob Hurdle, DeRozan, Saric, Rudy Gay, Doncic would definitely be would probably be my core if I had to recommend the core. So the best contests for cash are what? I went over that earlier. Best contests for double ups. High amounts of entries. Very, very high amounts of entries. And the ones that say single entry means you can only enter 1, which means there will be a lot more of people entering the contests. You want as many people. Because that will drive down the ownership. There's going to be a lot of different opinions in the pool. Whereas if you only enter like a 10-man 50-50 contest, those percentage ownerships could be 100%. All right, like Jacob Hurdle could easily be 100% in a very, very small double up tonight. But in the single entry, guarantee you he's not going to be over 80%. And that's still 20% leverage against the field if he does very well. All right? So hopefully you guys get this information. Again, this is going to be uploaded straight to YouTube, so I'm going to use this as a tutorial video. If you guys have any more questions, is there an entry fee you look for? Like $1, $2, $10? So that's another great question. Sharks, your McLovins of the world, your Chipotle addicts, your Awesimos of the DFS industry, they cannot enter a contest. Physically cannot, because they are disabled to do this, because they win even more money. Lower than $4. Okay, so $3, $2, $1 contests. They cannot physically get into this contest. All right, thank you for the subscription, Jordan. Really appreciate it. They cannot physically get into this contest. So the lower the amount, obviously for beginners, those are the ones you want to enter. They typically, and sharks in general, they only go from like $10 up for their entry fees. Rarely will you see them in the $4 contest. If you do, they're one of the last entries to get in there, and they just saw it pop up on their DraftKings, and they're trying to get into some last minute contests. All right, so these $2 double ups, the single entry $2, that's easy money right there. Like, you have to join that one if you're gonna go for double ups. All right, guys. I think I covered pretty much everything I wanted to talk about. I'm trying to think. Again, I do a mix. So if you're looking for like if you should play more double ups, if you should play more GPPs, that's up to you. I've pointed this out many times that statistically speaking, GPPs are going to make you more money, whether it's a small one, whether it's a big one. And if you're playing the edge in all these contests and you're playing the right way with those mix. With the right mix of core guys, high-owned guys, and a little bit of mix of lower guys, you're obviously going to cash out a lot more in the long run just by playing GPPs. With double ups, yes, you can be consistent, but it's just so much harder with all of this information we have nowadays, at least with these major sports like NBA, MLB, and NFL. So what I do when I do my GPPs every single day is I look for the small amount of entry GPPs. So I will look for those 200-man, those 400-man, those 500-man contests, and then I'll work my way up. All right, do I have a good amount of exposure to these contests? Okay, well, guess what? If I have a very, very good night, I want to capitalize on that, I'm going to pick a 1,000-man contest. I'm going to pick a 5,000-man contest. And then last but not least, I will go ahead and enter some of these monster GPPs, obviously the ones with the lowest margin, to capitalize on my success. Hopefully, I'll win big. But that's what I do, because if I do have a takedown in those $200 contests, I want to take it a step further and see if I can keep taking down and capitalizing on that. So you want to capitalize on your upside. You want to make sure that you have a lot of upside in your contest selection as well. What are you looking for when picking contests like margins and rake? I mentioned this earlier. The smaller the margin, the better, because that's the less amount of money that DraftKings is taking out of the contest. Like I said, not all double ups are the same as other double ups. Like, let's take a look here. So this margin for this 25 double up, and I told you guys, the higher the entry fee for these, the smaller the margin. 12.85% of people will cash, 12.85% DraftKings is taking out of their fees for this contest before issuing prize pools, but here they're taking 12.99%. So technically, not by much, but this is a worse for chances to cash, this $2 one as opposed to this $25 one. Now again, like I said, sharks can enter these 25 double ups, so you kind of have to pick and choose. But I'm more of a fan of these smaller entry double ups, obviously because there's less experienced players and there's more casuals in there. But yeah. So yeah, I think I answered a lot of these questions I've been getting asked in Discord, on Twitter. We get DMs about them. Hey, why are you posting all these low owned or these low entry single entry GPPs? Like, why are you not entering the big ones? Well, because it's a better chance of cash. I just wanted to jump on here. I wanted to answer a lot of questions. Again, this is going to be posted as a tutorial video. So if you want to go back and review it later, if you missed the beginning of the stream, guys, again, just trying to help. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Thanks for tuning in. We will be streaming a little bit later in the day, obviously, our normal pre-luck live stream to help give you guys the edge. So we'll see you there.